Hi everyone, in today's session we will see how to troubleshoot different kinds of errors in Terraform. There are four types of errors which you can encounter while you are using Terraform. That is language error, state error, provider error, core error. Language errors and state errors are something which you can handle by yourself by using set of commands, which we will look into while we are actually doing the hands-on. Whereas provider errors and core errors are something which need to be handled by respective team who is handling or develop that provider. It can be an individual or an organization. You just need to raise a GitHub issue and attach a log file to them. And core errors are nothing but which can be only be handled by Terraform. You don't need to worry about looking into the log also. You just need to generate the log file. Once the log file is in place, just raise a GitHub issue and attach that file to them. So now let's quickly jump on to our VS Code to see how exactly language errors can be handled. So for this demo, I will quickly create a new folder. I will name this folder as lang underscore, or I will just say troubleshooting. Okay. And in this troubleshooting folder, I'll create a sample file called main.tf. It's a sample config file. And I'll try to copy some sample configuration from existing config file. So, so I'll use this one. So in this, you can see I'm using Terraform version 1.5, and I'm using AWS provider. And I'm trying to provision a small, a T2 micro AWS instance. If you're following this demo and if you want to follow whatever I'm doing, you can go for it without any issues if you are in a free tier. If you already have a free tier account, or if you're in a free tier and you hold an AWS account. So if you can see as of now, as you can see, I'm trying to provision AWS instance, which is a T2 micro, and I have AMI ID coded here, and I have two tags. And let's start with language errors. Okay, I'll just give some name as language errors. So let's assume I will initialize this. I will just do, okay, before initializing, I'll try to create some error. So basically, if I go ahead and initialize, I'm in a wrong terminal. Let me open a new integrated terminal. I'll just expand it a bit so that it is visible to you all. Yeah, so we are in. So I will do Terraform init. So what Terraform init does, it will try to download Terraform version 1.5 and AWS provider version, which is greater than or equal to 4.16. And obviously, there's a logic behind this constraint. We will cover what are version constraints in other video. I'll also add that in the description box. So let's wait for a while. I'll quickly pause the video and I'll get back once the installation is completed. Now the installation is completed successfully. So you can see the installation is successful. We got our .terraform file created and providers are installed, etc. So we are good. Let's assume next day you made a small mistake, like mistakenly you removed a greater than symbol from the version of that provider. And if you try to run Terraform in it, it will throw an error. So this is nothing but a language error, right? So to fix this, to identify what is happening, so the best practice is before actually running a Terraform in it, you can run a command called Terraform validate. So remember, this is an important command which will detect if there are any errors, not only the version error. If I try to remove something like, let's assume I remove this from here, I try to run, it will detect those all errors. If let's assume I missed the resource name here, it should detect that as well. You can see missing name for the resource, and it will give the details, how exactly the schema of that specific resource. So that's the use of Terraform validate. I'll change this back to greater than symbol. And if I go ahead and validate now, it will say 0 errors found and all. So you can see the configuration is valid. That means it says there is no errors, any HCL errors in your config file. And let's assume there is a scenario where you want to access the output of your validate command via programmatically so that you can do some kind of automation and all. So in that case, also there's a command called, you can pass a flag called -JSON, which will generate your output in a JSON format. So let's take a scenario where I will just remove this. And also I'll try to remove this just to make sure our JSON file is quite enough. So I'll just give Terraform validate -JSON. And you can see you got a JSON formatted output. You can see the missing name for resource and also the invalid version constraint. So this is one of the feature of validate. You can also see if there are any other options which you can use via the validate command. For that, you just need to use -h, which is nothing but help. And you can go through it, what all it can do. And yeah, this is something which we already used. If specified output won't contain any color. So basically when you run it, it clearly gives something in a color. If there is a scenario where you don't want any color, I don't know in which scenarios one doesn't need color and all, but yeah, even this option is available. You can see it is not giving any highlighting like error is in red, as you can see here. So that's how you can use Terraform validate command. And now let's look into how to use Terraform format. So I'll just give a name to it. I'll just give web server as of now. Okay. Let's do a Terraform validate one more time. I don't know why it is showing red. I think my internet is slow. You can see it is kind of loading. The Terraform stuff is loading here. So yeah. So you can ignore this red highlighted stuff here. So now let's assume what exactly Terraform format is. So basically, it is not a mandatory thing, but it is a recommended approach to follow some specific standard, specific format in your configuration file. For example, I made some changes like this. I'm not following any format. I just gave all the equal to's here and there and try to give this one here, and just adding some spaces or tabs so that it looks a bit awkward. So now I'll try to issue the command Terraform format. So you can see it automatically formatted the entire config file automatically. So that is the power of Terraform format. And let's assume, and also it outputs which file exactly it formatted. And there are also a set of commands which you can use like recursive. So let's assume I have another, not file, sorry, another folder inside my troubleshooting folder. Like I'll store all S3 buckets in this one. And I will try to create a new file. I will also call it as s3.tf. And obviously I don't need this all things as of now, just for example, right? Let's assume I have resource s3, s3 underscore name, whatever it is. We have name here. Okay, let's keep it like this as of now, or else I can pick a sample from any of the S3 from here. Hold on a second. Imports. Basics. Okay, ignore. I'm not able to find anything. Is there a name? Or else I'll go back to my Terraform. Here. I'll just go Google resource S3 Terraform. So it will give me the sample here. I have somewhere in my working directory also, but I don't want to waste time finding for it. So I just came here. I'll just copy this one here. And this is a basic format. So what I will do, I'll try to give some spaces here. And tabs here just to make it look a bit unreadable and just close it. So not close it. I will keep it open just to make sure it is. You guys can view it. So if I give spaces over here and let's try to give Terraform format now. Now I will be in S3. Okay, so that we will see. Obviously, we have already seen the format is kind of formatting the main.tfs. You can see all those things, but still the S3 have that. So if you want both the configuration files which resides in root, at the same time, the one which resides in the subdirectory to be formatted, then you need to use recursive. You can see this recursive. Can use that. So Now you can see it updated this one. And the one difference what I observed is, let's make change here one more time and save it. Also make changes here, save it, and now run it. You can see it is printing out both main.tf and s3/s3.tf, right? And there are also set of other flags which you can use, and they're very useful. Let's look into the list first. So let's assume I made some changes here and try to run Terraform format, recursive. You can see, okay, I might have not saved it, I guess. Maybe this one also, I'll save it one more time. If I try to run Terraform format, so you can see it is displaying two files, whatever it formatted. To avoid it to display those things, what you can do is you can add, I'll try to make changes again. Okay, I saved it. Recursive -list is equal to false. If I do this, you can see the changes are made, but it haven't displayed what are those files. So that is one of the use of using list is equal to false. This can be a question in your, if you are going for a certification, it can be a question. I don't know how much it will be useful in your real time when you're actually working on a project using Terraform, but this is one of the example, or this can be a question in your Terraform certification. And there is also one more important thing called as diff, flag called as diff. So let's assume I made a change here. And if I just say format diff. So what it does is, okay, sorry, I think the command which I'm using is wrong. It's display diffs of formatting changes, right? That's fine. Let's make change again and try to add diff. Yeah, so that is what it is trying to show. Failed to generate diff for main.tf, exec diff, if executable file not found in path. So the problem with this is I am missing a diff package or binaries or a software installed in my Windows system. So I will give you how I will just show you how it works in Ubuntu OS. So here I have a file called main.tf. I'll just give a quick view of how exactly main.tf looks as of now. I'm just defining a small variable in here. So if you see currently everything is in proper format. Let's assume I'll try to add some spaces and come out of it. So now my main.tf has some extra spaces here. So if I do normal Terraform format, it's going to remove those spaces and it will format it, but it won't show what exactly it formatted, right? So for that, if I use diff here, yeah, you can see this is a file, it updated and it tried to delete this minus nothing but deleted this file and recreated that by removing the space. So that is what the power of diff is. So there will be scenarios where you are running, you are having a complete deployment pipeline where you're provisioning a huge configuration file onto a cloud, and in that pipeline itself you want to check or you want to format your code, and during that process only you want to display what exactly it formatted, just to make sure it haven't formatted something which is not meant to be formatted, or you want to know what exactly issue, what kind of mistakes you have done in your config file. So in that scenario, this can be useful. I can give you one more example, not a big deal. And as we are already here, we'll also see a couple of other commands, like let's take, if I issue Terraform fmt-h, there is other command called as write false, right? I think for better view, I'll go to VS Code. I think this gives a better view. And we also have a big config file here. So that clears the diff. And now let's look into other command called as write. So let's assume I want to just to check whether my format is correct or not without making any changes. So in that scenario, there is a command called as check. So for that, what I will do, I will make some changes here. So I'll just write Terraform format -check. So this will say, okay, this is the one which is having errors, and it will say it should print 0. I don't know why it is not printing 0. If you check this one, it should say check if the input is formatted. Exit status will be 0 if all input is properly formatted and non-zero otherwise. I should get some non-zero value based on my previous testing. So let's try doing it on Ubuntu. Maybe it's a different case or something is missing in my Windows system. So let's try to make change in here. Try to format, just check. So yeah, it's not printing anything like non-zero value. Let's assume I'll format it and then I'll try to check. Okay, so the only difference I could see is when you use a check, it is not writing, it is not updating anything inside your main.tf file. But when you formatted it and after which you ran the check, it is not printing anything. It is not saying that, okay, main.tf need to be formatted. So that is what it is trying to say. We can have a better view here. So if I, as currently my config file is not in proper format, and if I try to run Terraform format here, it will format it. And if I try to run check, it is not printing the file which need a formatting. So, but if I change the format and try to run the check, it is saying, okay, main.tf need to be formatted, but it is not writing anything. So that is the advantage of the format, sorry, check, just to check without updating the config file. And there is also one more command called write. And what exactly this does? Don't write to the source file, always disable if using the check. So I think this is quite similar to check. Let's write, let's do this on this config file and try what it does. Try to use this flag here. Write is equal to false. Okay, even this is trying to print out which file needs formatting. And if I try to remove it and if I run it, it is formatted. And now if I try to write, it is not printing. So I think both format with hyphen write is equal to false and format with hyphen check does the same thing. And also if you see the description of both of these flags, you can see always disable if using check. So if you're already using hyphen check, you can, this will be always disabled. So that is what it is saying. Always write is disabled. Even check is doing the same, right? It is not writing the config file. Even if identifies there is a change needed, there is a format change needed in your config file. So this is, so we have covered list, we have covered write, we have covered diff, we have covered check, and we have covered recursive. The only which we haven't covered is no color. No color is quite similar to what we have seen earlier in the validation. It won't give any color if it detects any formatting in the different when it prints diff. For example, let's do a check here, and I will try to make some change. And at the same time, I will give no hyphen color is equal to no color. That's it. So if specified, output won't contains any color. Maybe it will work with the diff, I guess. So let's jump into here and try to make some change to our config file, main.tf. I'll try to make some changes here. And now I will try to give diff, a normal diff. It is not giving any colors. And no color. I don't know exact difference because even this is not giving any colors and I don't see any use of adding no color over there. But yeah, so as of now, and this is not that important, you can avoid it. There won't be any question related to this option even in your Terraform certification. So you can avoid it as of now. But you have also seen, already seen what is a major difference, major use of no color while you are using Terraform validate format, right? So I think, so that covers most of the stuff related to Terraform format. And the next important topic we have is Terraform version. This is a very short topic. So let's assume a scenario where you are using, let me format it first. You are using some kind of syntax inside, some kind of deprecated resource, not resource, but deprecated syntax or deprecated feature of Terraform inside your configuration file. And that gonna say you that gonna say throw an error. As of now, I don't really have an example what is that deprecated version, deprecated feature within the Terraform, but there can be a scenario where you will come across a message saying that this version is this feature is deprecated, which you are currently using in your configuration file. For that to avoid, you can every time you can run Terraform version, which will basically print out the current version of yours, and also it will say what is the current version which is available for you to download. So you don't need to always go back to Terraform site and find out what is the latest version. So it is clearly saying that the version which you are currently using is out of date. Some of the features which you may use might be deprecated, or they can't function as you were expecting. So in those scenarios, you can just issue the Terraform version command. So that's a quick overview of what exactly version command does, and the high level detailed overview of what is format, what is validate commands. So that brings us to the end of this session. In the next session, we will see how to use provider errors and how to use core errors. And as I mentioned earlier, the state errors, which is nothing but the resource drift scenarios will come across, is already covered in other video of mine. I will attach the link in the description, or you can subscribe to my channel and you can find the video with, just find for a video with the description of resource drifting in it. And that brings us to the end of today's session. And thank you for joining. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.